There's a lot of hoes out there. There's a lot of girlfriends out there. There's a lot of girls that you would date. There's not a lot of good wives out there. You know, we're talking about inflation in America today. Are you familiar with another term called HOEFLATION?
What?
Familiar with this term, Vinny?
I just heard it right now.
The price you pay for an average wife, for a woman who used to be a wife, is much greater than it has ever been. The concept of men having to work 20 times harder than their grandfathers for women that are 20% worse than their grandmothers.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term HOEFLATION, 304-flation. Is it real? That's question number one. And have modern dating dynamics shifted so much that men are now working harder for less in relationships, emotionally, financially, and socially? And if so, what has changed? And I want to start with the youngin. Spaces. Go with it wherever you want to go. But answer that question for me.
I think, I'm thinking about a documentary that I watched, I don't know, maybe about a month ago now. And it was about basically welfare in the Black community. And it was a lady that she said she had 5 children with 4 different men, and she didn't want to marry the man that she's with. What? So, but then I also think about the trend that went around maybe 2 years ago now, or a year or so, where women put out a list of places that were not acceptable as first dates. And it was like 25 different places.
Yeah, it was a long list. I saw that.
Okay, you saw it. People saw it. I was like, do I think men are paying 20% worse? I think I think children are a reflection of their parents. I think there's nothing new under the sun. I think it's just more of the same that's really been going on. It's just we think it's worse. In some cases it is. Some cases it is. Some cases women are saying, like, you have to pay $250 on the first date. And some men are out there allowing them to think that way because they do it. But there are women that have babies with men that they met on the first night. So I think this is more of the same. I do think on both ends, men are not as useful with their hands as our grandfathers were, but in a lot of cases, women aren't as capable around the house like the grandmothers were. So I think I understand and I agree with what he's saying, but I also think it's more of the same.
I think men are working harder, but I also think that men are worse than they were 30 years ago. 40 years ago, 50 years ago. I just think that people were better 40 or 50 years ago. I think the men were better. I think the women were better. I just think that people in general, the society has just gone downhill. It's regressed tremendously, just like the music. I think it's regressed, men and women.
Listen, I was always a Cheesecake Factory girl. I have no problem with Cheesecake Factory, just like I didn't have a problem with going over to Subway and catching a nice sub. A good Publix sandwich, you can't beat a good Publix sandwich now. I'm just saying.
Hey. Well, nowadays Subway is kind of 5-starish now, as far as the prices go anyway. I mean, that $5
right?
foot long doesn't exist anymore.
No, it don't. I remember a guy looked at me. He was like, "What do you mean you don't mind going out for ice cream and going to watch planes land and take off?" I said, "I think that's amazing. Like, that's all you want to do?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good on that." But the thing is, I think, as a conversation I was having with my best friend today, I said social media has ruined everything. Let's just be real. It's ruined everything. So women are out here trying to get, let me use their terminology, flued out. They're trying to get that done. They are out here expecting, they like to get flued out. This what they say out here. They like, and this is after they have known you for like maybe a week. Are you going to fly me out? Like, what are you going to do? And you're like, what? Is that a real thing? It's a real thing. They expect Louis Vuitton bags and Giuseppe shoes and Prada purses and Birkins and all these things. Hermes. They want all of that come the first month that y'all been together. And it's absolutely ridiculous because all they're doing is comparing to things that they see on social media. They seem to think that's real life. That's not real life. It's not real life at all. And then, I know Leslie, whatever that lady is. What's that lady name? That big mouth lady? Leslie Jones.
The comedian.
Yes, yeah. Leslie Jones. She said, "What do you mean? What do I bring to the table? I am the table." I'm like, that's not even an answer, ma'am. There's a lack of femininity in you, and you don't even understand that. A lot of these women are looking for what they can get out of the situation in today's society because of what they see, like I said, on social media. Men, they have, and again, this is all for click. If they understand content creation, they wouldn't be looking for these things. When they show Valentine's Day, men giving them $100 roses, a dozen roses is all, or 2 dozen roses is all $100 bills, and women are out here actively looking for that and upset that their man is not giving them that. And it's
Not
like,
doing it.
that's not reality. That again, it's a partnership. You see, people are so concerned about the wedding and don't understand the marriage, the partnership, the lifetime together. That's what it's about.
Do you guys think that the men are the cause of the 304 inflation? Men cause this. You know, when you think about social media, all the attention, you know, that men have given, you know, you just have men willing to lead with their money, willing to take women on, you know, these expensive dates that Crystal mentioned.
Women little Tupperware get-togethers is what brought this on. Hey, girl, you can do whatever.
They spoil too much.
You can do
The
that.
feminism,
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden they jump on out there and they find out that, you know, they can't do what men do. You know, women are built different. They just can't do it. You know, it's not my fault. Take it up with your creator. I say it all the time. Take it up with your creator.
I'm not going to say men play a part per se, because like I said, there are women who they flat out lie about what they got going on. They purchase the stuff for themselves and be like, look what my man got me today. And they sitting down here throwing it out on social media, and other women are like, how man get her that? And so it again, they will be lying on social media just to get the likes and the taps and things of that nature. And I always say this is why people need to pay attention and not just sit down here and think what they see on social media is a real thing. And they come into belief of that. But a lot of men do lead with their money. They like to, I've had men who walk up to me and say, you know, I'm a VP of this, I make this. And I'm like, I don't care. And because they're so used to throwing that, and women are ready to fornicate on the first date off of what he just said, he expects every woman to behave like that. And no, that I'm not for sale. I'm sorry, I can't help you. So you go find somebody else that's willing to do that. But I think men do play a part in that. That's why I think for women, when they become a mother of a son, they start to look at things very differently. I don't know if you ever saw that video, Wise, of the woman who got on there and said, if you gonna be dating my son and you think my son is gonna be taking you to Ruth Chris or any of these places, you got another thing coming. If you can't pay for the steak for yourself, don't be asking my son to pay for the steak for you. And I was like, you know what? Let me go do a video like that on my son, because what y'all not gonna do, you get real protective of when it comes to your boys. So I think, like I said, I think it was a combination of women lying and men leading with their money.
I don't know anything about meal selection pre and post childhood, but I want to throw the conversation in a little bit of different direction. So there are some people who are looking for the come up, and they're looking to date as a way to come up. My advice is for men to stay away from women like that. Although men often enjoy women who feel that way about them. That's an absolute ego feed. So there are lots of men who enjoy a woman who, let's say, doesn't share their same economic status, that she is elevated by him. There are men who enjoy that. And you men know that there are men who enjoy that. My question is this. I think it depends on where you are. If you meet me at Ruth Chris, if after work I'm there and I'm waiting for my table and you're waiting for yours and you meet me there, it is reasonable for you to take me there or someplace comparable, because that's where I am, that's where I eat.
I'm gonna disagree with that one.
Disagree.
I'm gonna put it, hey, free dates. And I've told my boys the same thing. And I tell, you know, a lot of folks this, you know, when you first meet someone, you need to figure out some free places that you can take her outside of what it's going to cost gas wise, but free places, or very affordable, you know, coffee, maybe it's a little bit of ice cream or something, although ice cream can get kind of expensive these days, but free museums, You know, free walks in the park around here in our area, Baltimore and DC. There's tons of places, tons of things that you can do for free. We just go walk in the city for
but
free.
let me make my that makes sense for your sons, because I'm assuming your sons are very young men who are either at the very beginning or haven't quite yet started their career. My thought about that is this: I'm one of those people who believes, and I'm not saying I'm demanding a Ruth Chris date. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that what the situation, what I believe you all are describing, is somebody who you met at McDonald's but wants to go to Ruth Chris. That's a very different situation than someone you meet at Ruth Chris. That's all I'm saying. I'm simply saying I don't think that that's not someone who's looking for a come up.
I mean, I think even if we meet at Ruth Chris, if some kind of way, Celeste, we link up and we meet at a Ruth Chris, that ain't the first date. Hey, we going Starbucks. We got under $20. You know, a coffee.
What I'm saying is you're equating the whole, I met you at McDonald's and now you want me to spend $300 or $200 at Ruth Chris. All I'm saying is that's a completely different situation than someone you met at Ruth Chris.
No,
I don't think that's the same thing. Let's say if you go to Ruth Chris every night after work or 3 nights a week after work, if you and your boys meet 3 nights a week after work, and there's a woman there who, goes there fairly often, and you all meet, that's not uncommon or even unreasonable that would be, or something similar would be a dating experience. I'm not saying it has to be. I'm simply saying the idea of I could never take no woman to Ruth Chris is actually all right. So I know lots of people that's not how they're dating at all.
I think that a lot of people, I don't think they're doing it right in this day and age. I think we have entirely too many simps out there, and I'm a firm believer that
this is not
it's like negotiating. It's like when you're in negotiating, we can always work our way up. You can never work your way down. So wherever you start at, you can't say, hey, we're going to start at Ruth Chris and then the next date we're going to Applebee's. Like, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You gotta work your way up. You know,
I think you can't do that. I just want to say, I think the problem is we keep the first date shouldn't be a date. It should be an outing
to get to know each other. Exactly.
There's these weird expectations when it comes to date, and you don't even know if you really like this person. I'm about to drop $500 to somebody I don't even know if I like. That's a whole problem.
I'm not saying that you have to drop $500 or you can't meet someone for coffee. I like that idea. Or you can't, a coffee date for a first date to me is a great one.
I think so too.
But what I'm saying is I don't think that, all right, that if you get someone that is where they regularly are. It is not unreasonable.
Listen, men deal on a scale of what you look like. The biggest imbalance is that 5, 6, and 7s want the treatments of 8, 9s, and 10s. Okay, you don't qualify. You don't qualify. These women don't qualify for that treatment. If you're an 8, 9, and 10, okay, that means you're normally going to be matched up with a guy that's an 8, 9, and 10. That guy's going to be a little more successful. His first date will be different than my first date, Celeste. For example, I may pull up in my work truck. He pulls up in his Mercedes. Okay, we ain't living the same life, so I don't expect our first date to be the same first date. I'm not comparing that. But what women are doing is they're comparing, what they see an 8, 9, and 10 get, and they're mad that they're not getting that.
Why would 8, 9, and 10
get that? Let me explain this. So what you're saying is, and this is where the problem comes. The problem comes is you met an 8 at McDonald's, and you took the 8 because she deserves the 8 treatment to Ruth Chris.
That's where they met.
Probably should have took the 5 to Ruth Chris. And then you won't
look,
feel
This is wrong.
look,
That
look,
part.
number
Thank you,
one,
Celeste.
number
feel
This is
one,
wrong.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
wait.
tell you now.
Oh, wait.
I'm gonna tell you now. I could
Listen, I agree with
No,
you
this
that
is
you
crazy.
I agree that you should take a woman, like you said, where you want to take her is a reflection of what you think her value is. And I think women should know that when a man says to them, I'd like to take you to something such and such a place, that's a reflection of what he thinks your value is.
Oh.
And I think the problem for men is that many men think that a woman who is a 8, 9, 10 or whatever has a greater value. And oftentimes what happens is they actually make that high value investment and find out that it's not really a high value woman. And then they're angry about that.
That part.
As you said, that I should have took her to McDonald's, or I should have.
Yeah, but that's why you don't do that.
It's
That's
a
why,
very
hey,
game.
guys got to get back in the day. Now I grew up in the Atlanta area, and back in the day, everybody, thought they were pimps and all this other kind of stuff, but they had a mindset about them. The men, they were not about, out here saving women. They were not about out here just spending money and caping and simping. Men wasn't about that back in the day. That wasn't a thing. I don't know where this, taking women on first dates to, these super expensive restaurants. I don't know where that came from. That wasn't a thing back when I was on the dating market. And to be honest with you, if I ever found myself in that situation, that's not something that I would do. I refuse.
Even if it's an 8, 9, or 10 woman?
Even if it's an 8, 9, or 10. Okay. No. You getting the coffee, you getting the free whatever, you're getting the free walk. I look at it like this. If you are actually interested in me, you'll do whatever it is that I want to get into outside of me trying to have you come over the house. I wouldn't be disrespectful, but hey, let's go do coffee. And if we're in the city after, we can get some coffee. If it's nice out, we can go out and we can walk the city. We can chop it up and talk. Hey, let's get to know each other. I think so many people, they get into these situations or trying to get into relationships and they forget that, hey, this individual needs to be a friend, especially when you start thinking about, hey, we're going to go in that direction of marriage. You would hope that you're marrying somebody that you can sit down and just chop it up with and have some fun with, have a good conversation. And you guys can see that, hey, we actually got a lot in common, even if it's just sitting around laughing at folks as they walk by and we judge everybody as they walk by while we sip on our coffee.
Yep.
Thank you.
Then on top of that, you speaking to exactly what I was saying, Mr. Wise. It's like, okay, why if we know that the transaction between a man and a woman is money for provision for pleasure, let's say it that way, provision for pleasure, and that a man, if he throws his money at you because he wants to get you for that night, then you should probably say, I don't want this expensive date. Let's go somewhere where we can talk.
Yep.
Am I tweaking?
Well, first of all,
I agree with you.
I agree with you, but you
doesn't mean you get any.
That's what I was going to say. You ain't getting jack squat.
That's an equation you have in your mind. That's not my equation.
You better go purchase an expensive escort for that matter, because that is not my name.
That's what the scenario was earlier, though.
No, I don't think the average woman thinks that. The average woman doesn't think that this is a trade for pleasure. The average woman thinks, oh, you want to get to know me.
Listen, a man, look, let me explain something.
I'm not saying it's untrue. I'm saying the average woman, if you come and ask me out, I don't think you're asking me out because you're hoping that later on in the evening, or that you have a reasonable expectation. Anybody can hope. A reasonable expectation that later on in the evening, that means there's going to be a pleasurable transaction.
Okay, so
happy ending.
Just real quick, Rolando, keep your thought, please. I'm gonna ask a super quick question. When a man first approaches a woman, do you think he's approaching her because he wants to go skydiving with her?
Nope.
Women believe that, yes. Now, I'm not saying it's true.
But then we also say we know what women say all the time. We know what men want.
No, okay.
Men want that one thing.
Let me make this point.
Lauryn Hill made a song about it.
Women do not have the same understanding of male sexuality. We don't. We simply don't. We don't understand how driven by sex you are because we're not driven in the same way. So when you say, hey, why don't we hang out sometimes? I'd like to get to know you. We actually believe you want to do that.
But then you also women. I'm not saying you specifically. Women also. Lauryn Hill made the song. Guys only want that thing, that thing, that thing.
All right, listen.
Don't
No,
start.
again, women do not have, and I'm only telling you the truth about most women. I'm not saying every, but most women do not have an understanding of how driven by sex men are. We do not really believe that. And I made this statement a few shows past. I said women believe they can be friends with men. If you ask your brother, you ask your cousin, you ask your uncle, can men and women be friends? Most men laugh when you say no. No. If you ask most women, can men and women be friends? Women will give you 1,000 qualifiers. Absolutely. If they work together, if they this, if da 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 da, 1,000 qualifiers on how men and women can be friends, because we don't have that same sexual drive. We don't have any understanding of it.
What are your thoughts? Hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.